Hi guys, I'm talking about the purchase of Alaska and the annexation of Hawaii, which is basically when Hawaii and Alaska became a part of the US. First, I'll go over the purchase of Alaska. From 1733 to 1867, Russians colonized North America as far as to the present-day California and parts of Hawaii. These areas where Russians lived in America were called Russian America. But in 1876, Russia grew weak after the Crimean War. Furthermore, they feared that a war might happen between them and British Columbia, which is an area of the present-day Canada, right over here. With this, Russia came up with one solution: selling Alaska to America. But at that time, America was in the Civil War, so Russia had to wait. After the war ended, Russian Minister Edward de Stockel and U.S. Secretary of State William Seward met up in Washington, D.C. They negotiated for the whole night, and they agreed to a deal on March 20th, 1867. The U.S. decided to buy Alaska from Russia for $7.2 million. In the present-day money, that's $180.5 million due to inflation. On May 28th, President Andrew Johnson signed the treaty, and on October 18th, 1867, Alaska was granted statehood. A few critics called this purchase Seward's icebox, stating that the U.S. paid a huge amount of money for an area with only ice. But this was still a good deal for America, for Alaska now produces tens of billions of dollars every year, and is full of natural resources such as gold and oil. The purchase also expanded American territory, and this was a big deal because at this time, America was in the middle of manifest destiny. So many people say that the purchase of Alaska was a very good deal. After approximately 31 years, Hawaii was annexed. By the time when Americans finally started to look for lands to conquer, most of the world was claimed except for some islands and territories in Asia and Africa, and Hawaii was one of these lands. So, since the 1820s, America has some interest in Hawaii. Their interest in Hawaii intensified with the sugar trade, seeing Hawaii as a very profitable country. From the 1840s, America's main goal was to prevent European forces to take over Hawaii. With this, US tried to be as nice to Hawaii as possible. They gave them generous terms of import, and American profits from Hawaii grew and grew and grew. Soon, the U.S. made a treaty with Hawaii, and Hawaii became a protectorate of the U.S., basically meaning that they were under the protection of the U.S. Soon, the U.S. started to make a plan to take over Hawaii. The U.S. Congress made and approved the McKinley's Tariff in 1890, which drastically raised import taxes on foreign sugar, so Hawaiian sugar was becoming undersold in America. The Hawaiian sugar growers knew that if Hawaii was bought by the U.S., this problem would be solved. Meanwhile, Hawaiian Queen Liliuokalani decided the problem is caused by the U.S., stating that they should simply cut off any trade with the U.S. Citizens of Hawaii now opposed the Queen, and on January 1893, planters of Hawaii rebelled and tried to overthrow the Queen and begged the U.S. military forces for protection. Without approval from the president, the U.S. Marines stormed the islands and forcefully raised American flags in Honolulu. After this, the Queen was forced to resign from her throne, and what to do with Hawaii was basically up to Washington, D.C. At the same time, Grover Cleveland was inaugurated president. Grover Cleveland was an extreme anti-imperialist, so basically he didn't agree with extending a country's power through military force. He thought that America acted shamefully in Hawaii, so he canceled the annexation of Hawaii and started an investigation for any wrongdoings during the annexation of Hawaii. He also tried to get Liliuokalani back to her throne. When Grover Cleveland left office, a war broke out with Spain in 1898, and naval bases in Hawaii was a necessity to win. So, President McKinley decided to annex Hawaii, and Hawaii was a territory of the U.S. until when it was allowed statehood in 1959. The Hawaiian sugar plantations were a great source of wealth and of sugar, and boosted the American economy with more money. When the U.S. took Hawaii, the Navy got a large and important base at Pearl Harbor. This helped the U.S. to spread its power across the Pacific Ocean.